My other bone to pick with Unfriended, I hated seeing that girl's doo-doo ass. Don't show me that shitty ass one more time. It is nasty and wet and all up in everything. Like that was one nasty looking ass, and don't show it to me multiple times. I don't want to see it. There's no doo-doo asses in Dark Web.
In 2022, two writers came together to finish what Universal Studios couldn't. A cinematic universe of monster movies called the Dark Universe. After 3 years and 30 scripts, their project was finally completed. Now, in 2026, they're back to attempt what's never been done before. A completely original cinematic universe entirely in podcast form. I'm Dalton DeShane.
And I'm Dylan Roth.
And you are now entering the Pod Universe.
Welcome to the Pod Universe, a podcast about cinematic universes, both real and imagined, but mostly imagined. I'm your lurking in the group chat host, Dylan Roth.
And I am your long discontinued Microsoft video chat platform, Dalton DeShane.
You know, I remember when I first got to college, the way that I kept in touch with my long-distance girlfriend was using Dalton DeShane.
Yep, that's right. So many people have had graphic, nasty sex through me, as we almost see at the beginning of this of the film we're going to talk about today. And how appropriate that while discussing this of all movies, we had a little ghost in the machine.
We
today.
did. We had a weird, mysterious sound coming through your microphone.
And in fact, we still do. I've just put a noise suppressor on it.
Oh, is that why I'm here? Like, I hear your breaths more than I used to.
Yeah, the breaths.
Interesting.
The noise suppressor, I guess, is breathing and also causing a little bit of latency.
Oh.
And
it's spooky.
That's my way
it's in my right ear. It's in my right headphone. It's like shifted to one channel.
I'm basically
every time you breathe, it's spooky.
I've locked the ghost in the ballroom upstairs, but it is still here. It's actually really annoying hearing my breath like that.
No, stop it. I will do my best to edit out most of it when I'm doing the episode, but I will only be able to do so much, Dalton. You will have to breathe over the course of the next 90 minutes.
And in the credits, we will call the ghost Onion Breath, but of course, everyone will just know it as Slimer.
I got that joke.
There's a deep cut Ghostbusters joke for everyone. Shout out Branson Reese.
Recent guest on the show. He was here to do his pitch for a reboot of Ghostbusters that would piss off nerds but really delight the two of us.
Actually, before we bring in our guest real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep you waiting, guest, who we have not announced yet.
Do we want to tell them the big news right off the top of the episode?
Which big news?
The big news that we are starting our script
over. No. We're going to talk about that at the end. The big news I was going to talk about is we have decided to shift our guest episodes a little bit in terms of topic. In the past, we've had people come on to pitch, when we were doing Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe versions of movies that we could fit into the Dark Universe. We are no longer doing the Dark Universe, but we've still had some people coming on and wanting to do their Dark Universe takes, and that's been fine. But now we're creating an original cinematic universe. And I think we're more a podcast about the power of the cinematic universe than one in particular. And so, starting with today's guest, we are asking people to come in and choose a movie or intellectual property that they would like to see expanded into a cinematic universe and what that universe might look like.
This is kind of allowing us to make it a little bit easier for us to explain what our show is to people.
We're a podcast about cinematic universes. Shut up. That's it.
And also, it's for those of you who've been listening to us for about 4 years now, get a little mix in a couple new things in the format,
Yeah.
Shake things up a little.
Plus, it allows us to, look forward. And also, like, each movie only makes, like, what, $1 billion? But if we start planning for 30 movies at a time, that's $30 billion.
Imagine if we're the first movie studio to have, like, 12 concurrent successful cinematic universes.
And that's just in 1 year.
Yeah. Every movie that we put out is part of one of a dozen cinematic universes. And then when one is over, don't worry, we got another one. As often as Marvel puts out Marvel movies, we are launching a new cinematic universe.
We're coming for you, Elon Musk. We're going to get more money than you. We're going to buy all your companies, and we're going to hire
Nationalize
a bunch of people. And we're going to hire a bunch of people to whisper in your ear every day to beep yourself, beep, beep, hitting the little sensor button.
I think yes, if Elon
yourself.
Musk just had to hear you inhale in his right ear exclusively every once in a while,
mine's in
that
the
might
left.
make him go insane. Maybe I'm wearing my headphones backwards. That could be it. I know you're wearing yours normal because yours are in ear and they can only go in the one direction. I'm probably wearing mine backwards. But hey, our guest this week is a veteran media critic and journalist who you might know from his years at Polygon or in his new role as the founder of PV Guide, where he's curating movie, TV, and game recommendations for a world drowning under the crushing weight of the almighty algorithm. He also bears the distinction of having been our show's very first advertiser, Invoice 001. Please welcome to the pod universe, Pete Volk. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing great, Dylan and Dalton. Thank you for having me. I'm just happy to be with such ambitious producers and excited to talk about my pitch of what Elon Musk was up to during the rest of Iron Man 2.
I love that. We're going to get deep into that.
You know what? There was a whole short or cut subplot in Iron Man 3 about what that scientist who Tony shakes hands with in one shot is up to. We don't have that for what war crimes Elon Musk was doing in the background of Iron Man 2.
Pete, thank you for being here. Now, you have decided to pitch our very first external cinematic universe that we have had to approve here, and you chose the film Unfriended from 2014. Can you walk us through your decision-making process there? What is your history with this movie, and why did you pick it?
Yeah, and lest we forget, Unfriended 2 Dark Web, which is also a film that I'm a fan of.
I watched both last night.
Okay, I did not have time to watch Dark Web. Y'all are going to have to fill me in.
There's going to be a lot that surprises you, I think, Dylan, because the films are different, even if they have the same gimmick. I really like both of these movies. I have liked them for a long time, and I think they're the best example of the Screenlife subgenre that we've seen in other films like Missing and Searching, where the whole movie is depicted through a screen. I first saw the first Unfriended on my MacBook in a crowded Starbucks. And I felt like that was a unconventional but fitting place to watch the movie because the movie does take place on a character's laptop. So it did feel that extra step of immersion as I'm watching the movie and I'm getting confused, her buttons, my buttons, etc.
The 4DX experience, yeah.
Exactly. We were innovating in the Starbucks. But yeah, so I really liked that movie, and I'd been kind of thinking about it and the ways that I think it combines new and old is really one of the things that I really like about these movies, these kind of new styles of storytelling visually with old styles of storytelling narratively. And I think it's a really clever match of those two. And then I was really surprised with Dark Web, which I didn't have high hopes for going in. But the basic difference, Dylan, is it's not supernatural. Which I think is a really bold choice for them to make for the sequel. And for our purposes, gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how to approach future installments, because they've made it clear that this can be either a supernatural or a not supernatural situation.
Yeah, that really does open things up.
Dark Web is ostensibly not supernatural, but they do have all the like hacker guys turn into like weird digital pixelations when they're walking around, and it is kind of like it's a weird choice, but we can talk about that later if we talk about it. But
let's explain
humans
the premise
don't do that.
Of this. It's like, these movies were kind of a flash in the pan, as I understand it. Unfriended was a hit, right? But it's not the kind of movie that has become an essential piece of horror cinema to the casual viewer.
Well, so let's talk about Screenlife movies a little bit.
Yeah.
And their number one supporter, Timur Bekmambetov.
Yes.
Who is a director, actually. He directed Wanted. Is that Miller?
That's a Mark Millar.
A Mark Miller joint. He did Wanted. He did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. But he is perhaps best known as the sole sort of champion of the Screenlife movie, which he says he developed. It was sort of his idea. That started with Unfriended, which he did not direct. He just produced. Unfriended, Dark Web, Searching, Profile, which he did direct, War of the Worlds from last year, which he did not direct, but he did produce, and the other one that he directed, which I think does qualify as a Screenlife movie, Mercy with Chris Pratt
Oh,
and Rebecca
wow.
Ferguson.
Timely pick.
Which got
Timely
all
pick,
the
Pete.
way to IMAX theaters.
Yeah, what a bizarre choice that is.
Yeah, so
I'm excited to watch this movie that was basically just Chris Pratt in a room and a lot of second unit footage on the biggest screen on earth.
Yes.
I'll add just for some Timur Bekmambetov color, because I think his career is bizarre and fascinating. He also directed Night Watch and Day Watch, which are these two Russian vampire movies that are really crazy and quite fun.
Okay.
And I believe he directed the Ben-Hur remake.
Yes, he did. He did, yeah.
Yes. So he's had an odd career.
The dude loves vampires and laptops. And who amongst us, really? Actually, my favorite Screenlife movie, though, actually is not a Timur joint. Did anyone see Host?
I did not see Host.
The Shudder exclusive. If you like Screenlife movies at all, I think this is personally the best use of them. It was filmed in 2020 during lockdown over Zoom. Like all the actors were actually quarantined in their homes, recording themselves on Zoom. All the special effects, well, not all of them. There's some digital touch-ups, but a lot of them they did in camera in their own apartments. In some cases, they had some like masked stunt workers come over and do stuff on camera for them. But it is about a group of girls during lockdown who are super bored, and so they decide to do a seance over Zoom using like a psychic who joins them by Zoom call. And they sort of end up mocking the spirits and unleash a spirit that's like going through their laptops and harassing them.
Okay, that's definitely that's a direct descendant of the movie that we're here to talk
absolutely.
about today. Yeah,
it is absolutely a direct descendant of Unfriended, and like sort of does its own twists on things that Unfriended does. But I will get into this more as we talk about Unfriended. But I just think Host does a lot of them a lot better.
Okay.
But I recommend it.
Well, let's hear about how Unfriended does it.
Real quick, I wanted to say, because you brought that up, Dalton, I don't know if you're familiar with Deadstream, which is another Shudder original Screenlife movie. But that was another one that I liked quite a bit. That's about an obnoxious like Twitch or YouTube streamer who's like trying to rehabilitate his image after being canceled. And he's like coming back, and he has this idea where he's going to go to this haunted house in the middle of nowhere and stream sleeping there. And he has this wheel, that he spins to do crazy things in there. Turns out the house is actually haunted. And it's presented as like a VOD of his stream. And I also thought that was a really clever use of the concept.
I've heard that one's really good. I've been meaning to watch it. Yeah. To your point, Dylan, I think Unfriended was this sort of like big hit at the time. And I think it really kicked off a wave of a new kind of low budget found footage that is still kind of persisting. Like Deadstream wasn't that long ago, like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. A year or two, I think. Yeah.
Horror directors are always looking for low budget ways of doing it. And by God, hitting the screen record button doesn't get much more low budget than that.
We'd never do such a thing. I respect it. It's just a matter of like, I'm going to spoil a little bit. I think Unfriended is like good.
I know. I saw your 3.5 stars.
I think it's good for mainly sort of like nuts and bolts technical reasons, which I'll get into later. But I would still like to make sure that our entire audience is familiar with what the fuck Unfriended is.
Sure.
So, Pete, can you pitch us the movie as it exists now?
Yeah, so it's your classic teen bullying PSA,
a very special episode.
A very special episode, yeah. So it's about a group of close friends who are on a Skype call together for the entirety of the movie, the first one. And one of the kids at their high school who was childhood friends with the protagonist took her own life, I think, a few weeks before the movie. I don't quite remember the timeline.
Anniversary.
It's the
anniversary.
Year, yeah.
That makes sense. And a mysterious account pops up in their Skype call, and it seems like it's her ghost. And then spooky shit starts happening, and they start dying one by one, with one of the rules being that they're not allowed to get off the call or they die. The whole movie is told through the main character's MacBook as she tries to figure out what's going on with the Skype call.
Yeah, our main character with the backwards name of Blair Lilly, not Lily Blair. And do want to shout out because, well, a couple things about the cast. First of all, listeners of this show, I'm sure will do the same thing I did, which is as soon as they get on the Zoom call, you'll go, "Is that Jacob Wysocki?"
It sure is.
And it sure is. That is Jacob Wysocki as the goofball friend, who does end up dying in a very grisly way, but also because it's Jacob Wysocki, I think maybe in the funniest way in the film. Also, for Dark Universe fans, I want to shout out that Blair Lilly has a number of tabs open in Google Chrome, eating up her RAM the whole time. No wonder she's having some video glitch problems. But one of them is the streaming tab for Teen Wolf.
Yes.
The MTV series, which is Dark Universe canon.
Yes. Teen Wolf and Johnny Cash are the two non-plot related tabs that we never see open, but are always there in her browser the whole movie.
And the actress that plays Blair Lilly would go on to be in the Teen Wolf movie in 2023.
Wow.
So
it's all coming together. I'll have one other cast shout out while I'm here, which is Moses Storm plays one of the guys in the movie, and there was a very underloved Paramount Plus original series about League of Legends esports called Players from the creators of American Vandal, which is very, very funny. I highly recommend it if you can find it anywhere, because it's hard to find now. And Moses Storm was one of the guys in that show, and he's very funny.
You know, we've got our quintet of living high school friends, high school seniors, who are just hanging out on, I guess, just a weekend night. Conveniently, none of their parents are home, and they're just hanging out on Skype. Now, I guess in my day, cooler kids would have just gone over to one of their houses to hang out. But I was not one of those cooler kids, so I don't know what people did. Skype didn't become a thing till I was already like a freshman in college.
I asked Sarah, because Sarah did watch this movie in high school and was about the characters' ages when it came out. And she said she never once just hung out with her friends on a Skype call. So
it feels more akin to how people use Discord now than how people use Skype then.
Yeah,
I think
prophetic. Really,
I'm going to give it credit for that. I'm going to decide that it's prophetic and not just
ahead of its time,
narratively convenient. Listen, there's a lot about this movie that is very silly. And a lot of characters behave very stupidly, but it's a horror movie and these are teenagers. That's par for the course for a horror movie.
Sure.
Contrivances, weird exposition. These are all things I think that, it's just a movie about stupid teens. Most of the basic, like, why would anyone do X or Y complaints you might have about this movie, I think apply to almost any horror movie about teenagers. Or really any movie about teenagers or just teenagers in real life. What blows me away about this movie is that this crew had to essentially invent a new form of blocking in order to tell this story. It was all this movie lives and dies on its ability to direct the audience's attention, and it's not always in the most obvious way of just putting the cursor where they want the audience to look.
Although
which is cool. That's a lot of it.
That is, she reads with her cursor, Blair Lilly.
Yes, but it's also a matter of when can we and should we be at another tab? The story is written around our protagonist's attention, right? But there's always business going on. Although I do have to say, conspicuously, sometimes all of her friends stop talking. Nothing important happens while we're reading something.
It's not even they stop talking. The audio just fades out, because that's what it does it the first time. Like, she doesn't even turn the volume down. It is a non-diegetic audio fade.
That's just something that has to happen in order for the movie to be watchable.
I don't think so, because I think it is a growing pain of the Screenlife genre, because it is something that does not happen in dark web.
Okay.
In dark web, they get around that by his attention is always sort of drawn between two different video feeds, and so he is muting one and going over to the other, so it is diegetic the way he's cutting out the attention. It also doesn't happen in Host. I think there is a little bit of trusting the audience to be able to both visually see something that's going on while other people are chatting. And I think because this is a very new style that Timur is still getting off the ground, he doesn't trust that that's going to happen. Another side effect of that is the iMessage window. Every time we go to her and Mitch's iMessage window, all their previous chats have disappeared. There's also nobody else in her chat history. It's just Mitch. And every time she goes back, all previous chats have gone away, because I think they're trying to be like, well, this is new. I don't know if people will go right to the new messages or like, right. And so they're playing
the
it
audience
safe
in general
in
is more literate with these tools now. And so it would be easier to do it. I'm saying that obviously future future installments or iterations of this style of movie are going to innovate. They're going to iterate. This movie had to innovate straight up. I know that there are earlier examples of Screenlife movies that were basically not seen by. I think I've read about the Collingwood Story, a 2002 movie with a similar premise using just video chat, but it didn't have the whole browser thing that I understand. As far as I understand it,
there's a Belgian one from 2000 called Thomas in Love as well, which I think is the first one.
Have you seen it?
I have not.
It could be that our friend Timur is a hack and is only pretending to be inventing this stuff and has actually seen all of these really obscure movies. But I really admire the way that the story is written around controlling information to our lead character, whose perspective we are in the whole movie. And what really got me to go like, that's a great idea was, there's a point later on in the story where instead of sending a text message, as she usually does, the ghost sends something directly to Blair's printer. And so she has to get up and look at it. And we see her when she returns her receipt looking at this piece of paper. But the text is facing her. She's facing the camera. We can't read it. And another character also has one. And so for the first time in the third act of this movie, we have done something structurally that creates a new kind of suspense that this movie has basically rendered up to this point impossible to attain. We have given a piece of information to the character that the audience can't have, and that's jarring because we have been her up to this point in the movie. And that was a thing where I'm like, fuck, that's a great idea. Like, there is something cool being done here with this new format. And I'm a defender of the new, Dalton. It may not be new now, but it was new then.
Sure.
And I'm gonna hike up my Critic from Ratatouille pants, and I'm gonna stick my nose out for this one, and I will happily return to this rat-infested restaurant for the sequel.
Look, I'm in the minority here. I'm the one that didn't like this one, so I will pipe down.
Yeah, it's okay. You could be the dissenter, Dalton. I'll say I agree, Dylan. I think that's a great point around the change in how information is revealed. I just really generally liked honestly the cursor stuff and the way that information is unveiled to the audience throughout this movie. Like you're saying, your attention is tied with hers, and I suspect, thinking about this and talking about this with you two, that like maybe a part of why this movie hits so much for me is because I was working in a digital environment that was stressing me out at the time, where I got a lot of Slack notifications and text message notifications and emails all on the same device. And I think that the movie uses this almost like Pavlovian response to digital notifications in a way that I hadn't seen before, but that like really resonates even still now for me. Like these reactions you get when you get an email or a text message, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Or like in the case of email, that's going to be a bad thing, whatever is coming in there, it's not going to be good. So I really liked how the movie utilizes both the space of the screen and like classic narrative forms combined with like our new understanding of technology to create these moments of tension.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give my criticism part. And then how much would you say we should go into dark web before your pitch session? Should we talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Especially so Dylan has a little bit of a clearer idea. We don't have to, get too deep in the weeds, but I think like you said, they do make some improvements on the format.
Yeah, I think, which is partially what my criticism of this is going to go in, because I think a lot of my criticisms of this movie are so immediately solved by dark web that watching them back to back, I sort of got whiplash a little bit. But I think for me, the whole thing about a Screenlife movie is that they live and die on their verisimilitude. Like, if I am going to be presented with this thing that is supposedly in real time, and the reason why it's not shot like a normal movie is because we're supposed to be living in this with these characters, I need these characters to feel like real people. And I need it to feel, and I also need them to be people I want to hang out with for an hour and a half. Because you're trapped with them. You're trapped with them in real time. You're trapped with, like, there's no cutting away or cutting around them. Like, everyone's there. And I just think this movie, at no point did I feel like they were real high schoolers. They weren't especially pleasant to be with. And they're also so anonymous. Like it's all archetypes and very loose archetypes. And even the conflicts that come up when they're like, oh, you all have secrets are just very boilerplate. Like, well, you cheated and you sold drugs and you crashed my mom's car. And like all these sort of just like high school 101 things that in Dark Web, we start out and we meet the main character by finding out that he has coded an app to help him speak sign language to his deaf girlfriend over Skype, and has stolen this computer because his old one wasn't fast enough to run it. And immediately, specificity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the first thing you learn. This character is in love with this deaf girl. He doesn't speak sign language. He codes, and he built this app to, like, that immediately, I'm like, that's a memorable character. That is something unique. And it's something that nobody in the original Unfriended has. And also, to go back to Host a little bit, Host doesn't have that necessarily kind of specificity to each character, but all of the girls that are on this Zoom call are like actual friends, and I think improvised a lot of their dialogue, and you feel the chemistry. You're like, oh, I'm hanging out with my friends. Like, these are people who actually like talking to each other, who are just like hanging out in the Zoom call and like kind of giving each other shit and like, you know, but in a way that feels very real, in a way that's like, especially over COVID, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this with my friends too. And this one, I don't think it either establishes memorable characters or really makes them feel like actual people talking on a Zoom call. And for me, it's like, it doesn't feel real in the way that found footage in general is supposed to make you feel, right? Like the whole Blair Witch thing of we just found this camera and look what was on it, you know?
That's fair. Maybe like I didn't like the teenagers in Unfriended either, but maybe because I just kind of think of teenagers as space aliens to begin with. That like it never kind of occurred to me that they could be realistic human beings. As you could say that teenagers scare the living shit out of me.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I definitely see where you're coming from, Dalton, and I agree that the second movie is definitely much more put together in those respects.
Yeah.
The friendship of the first movie didn't strike me as fake as I guess that it did to you. But I think part of it too is that, like, especially because of when it came out and how, you know, it was innovating on this and kind of setting new boundaries for this genre. Like, I'm still just so wowed by its marriage of old school thriller horror narratives with new school, like a new cinema, really.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad, though, how much you like Dark Web, because that's one that I've had more trouble getting people on board with.
Really?
I think because people thought, you know, either they dismissed the first one, didn't want to watch the second one, or they just thought, oh, it's a sequel that like nobody asked for, you know, this kind of thing. So like, I agree. I think the second one is definitely the stronger film. Mm-hmm. Dylan, basically, as you might have heard from Dalton, the main character steals a laptop from someone who's connected to the dark web. And basically that just spirals out of control, and they're hackers and all this kind of stuff. But to me, that one's more scary than the first one, honestly, because it feels so real. Like, the scariest scene in that one to me, which is a really clever idea of this Screenlife narrative and the premise, is one of the characters gets swatted. So the hackers call the police on this kid, and the police make it into the house, and the kid's trying to tell them, this is all fake, whatever. But then the hacker turns the volume up on his computer and plays the sound of a gun cocking, so the police shoot him.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
that's what Dark Web is like, I guess, in a nutshell. And I think it does a really good job of like taking the Screenlife thing to the next level and being like actively scary in a very real way, in the way that Unfriended supernatural element makes it feel a little more removed for me.
Yeah, it literally is at the point where I was watching with my fiance Sarah, and they're talking about the hackers and like them being able to watch people on their webcams, and like they're going into all the detail of what these hackers can do. And at one point, she turned to me and goes, "Is that real?" and I was like, "Oh,
well, yeah, that's the layer of a horror movie that it's going to be most effective if you're afraid this could happen to you."
Yeah,
and in that sense, like, supernatural stuff is rarely really that scary to me as an adult. Yeah, unless it represents some deeper, scarier feeling. And Dark Web sounds like it literalizes the kind of thing that Unfriended metaphorically makes you afraid of, which is the the fact that we live on these machines and these machines don't have to behave. There's moments in the first Unfriended that really made me think about sort of the nightmare logic type stuff of like being unable to like speak or use your hands for something.
Yeah.
And there are times where they're just like the button's missing. It's like if the doorknob is gone.
Yeah.
Right? But this could actually happen.
Yeah.
Right? Or like I don't understand why the button to hang up is gone. It's like, well, because you can't control that. This is a world where things literally can appear and disappear.
Yeah.
And they do matter because this is the world that we live in. So the idea of taking that off of the spiritual and planting it more in the real internet that we really rely on every day, yeah, that does sound scarier. That does sound like more interesting.
That we rely on but don't fully understand, I think, crucially, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think where we've kind of landed with this is that Unfriended, I'm kind of forgiving the fact that the first Unfriended, the gimmick is the draw. The gimmick is the main event here.
Yeah.
Which I think that a movie can get away with exactly one time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who cares? But that dark web and any of these other Screenlife horror movies that have followed, and I suppose the other movies that did this first, I don't want to erase the history of Screenlife before this, that we can get to move forward and that we don't have to make the movie about this device that we have to train the audience to understand.
Yeah. To get a little more into some of the scary stuff in dark web, like you were saying, the main character steals this computer and almost immediately discovers some weird shit on it. He discovers a hidden folder filled with almost a terabyte of videos. And a lot of these videos are him hacking into people's home cameras and like recording them at home. And then he finds another folder inside that is full of videos of women being like kidnapped and tortured. And he finds out that this guy is part of a network of like dark web guys that all go by the name Charon, the that we used in the dark universe.
Right. The ferryman on the river Styx.
The ferryman on the river Styx. The guy whose laptop he stole begins Facebook messaging him from the Facebook account of a teenage girl he just kidnapped, which I think is one of the more fucked up. And you don't realize that at first. He's just getting these messages from like this girl, like, I know you're there. I know you're there. And it's not until a little later you realize this is a girl that was just kidnapped and he has her computer and is messaging himself, right? To get to his stolen computer. Meanwhile, our main character is having a game night with friends. Because in this case, they have a reason to be on Skype because they all live in different places. One of them is in the UK. One of them is, is somewhere else.
I thought it might have just been my personal experience of when I started using Skype and why, but off the bat, it was confusing to me. I just flat out assumed until they started talking about prom that these were all high school friends who had just gone to college.
Right.
And we're talking to each other. But that is clearly like the movie does not mislead me into thinking that. I just figured that's me projecting my experience.
Yeah.
But it does immediately make more sense to me being like, hey, why aren't they all at different schools right now?
Yeah.
Like it creates a reason for them to want to hang out this way. It has the extra tension of how far away they are from each other. And I think that finding out that your high school friends or have hidden stuff from you is a particularly electric thought your first time being away from them. So I don't know why they're high school kids.
I got one other bone to pick with Unfriended.
Roommates, I guess. If they all had roommates or lived in dorms, it wouldn't be as scary. All right, your other bone to pick.
My other bone to pick with Unfriended, I hated seeing that girl's doo-doo ass. Don't show me that shitty ass one more time. The whole thing is this girl killed herself because a video got uploaded of her getting drunk and shitting her pants. And boy, howdy, do we see the shit running out of her pants. And it is nasty and wet and all up in everything. Like she got a UTI. I mean, she might have killed herself just from the UTI pain at that point. Because that was one nasty looking ass, and don't show it to me multiple times. I don't want to see it. There's no doo-doo asses in dark web.
I'm gonna tell you, I think that it being really unpleasant to look at kind of sells it for me.
I know, but
I was a little bit afraid that they were going to soft pedal whatever it was that was so awful she got bullied by. Like, granted, you can get bullied into harming yourself for anything online. But in a movie...
But as soon as they start calling her poopy pussy, she's like... That's too far.
Done for.
Grabbing the gun.
I see what the problem is, Dalton, because you're a bully. You're a bully. You're on the side of the bullies.
I'm bullying her doo-doo ass.
Yeah, it's interesting here you talk about both the movies back to back, Dalton, because like I think, on the surface, the first movie's about bullying and it's very much about bullying.
Yeah.
But I think if we really think about the themes of both of these movies and how they interact with our technological landscape, I think the first movie is about how the internet is forever, because for each of them, there's direct evidence of the things that they've done.
Yeah.
Be it videos or pictures or whatever that gets unearthed that proves that their secrets are the things that happen, including who took that video of Poopy Pussy or whatever she ends up being called. But the second movie, I think, is more about how there are cameras everywhere and that you are being surveilled at all times, and that the internet is this vast thing that extends across the world. This is another thing. Like you mentioned, you have a friend in the UK. This is a global world now. And this is a global film, which means that, people can be attacked by the same perpetrator, so to speak, on different continents at pretty much the same time. Because of the vast interconnectedness of the internet and the mass surveillance that cameras everywhere also brings.
Yeah, in the second movie, at first they're like, oh, well, they can't get, I think his name's Duke or something. They can't get Duke. He's in the UK, so he's safe. And then, of course, they do get him. In fact, they get him in one of the most grisly ways possible, because this is a global network, right? And yeah, it's about really not knowing what you're connected to when you're online. And that is a real fear people have,
Yeah, no, it's a reasonable one, right? Because there are corners of the don't even have to go to the dark or deep web, the regular ass internet, subreddits that have since become their own website, where it's just like, no, they'll do this shit because it's funny.
Yeah.
Right? They don't even have to have a reason to do it. And I think that's actually kind of scarier than having. But in a horror movie, you need to have a transgression.
Well,
and this time, instead of the transgression being, oh, all these kids are fucking horrible to this one woman and she kills herself. Yeah. I think, interestingly, it's a transgression that is like, no, I need this tool to communicate with this person that I love. That makes it the kind of thing where, like, yes, it's a Jean Valjean type thing where, like, yes, you did the crime, but like, this is bullshit.
Well, I mean, that actually ends up being the twist of Dark Web, which, like, if you don't want spoilers, if you want to watch this movie, skip forward like 2 minutes. But at the end of Dark Web, you've thought for the whole movie that this is because he stole this laptop that has incriminating evidence on it. At the end, you find out all these guys were set up from the beginning to basically take the fall for their kidnappings, and they made a game of it. And at the end, the main character is like, why are you doing this? And they play back a video of him on the phone with his friend saying, it's game night. And apparently the original title of the movie was Unfriended Game Night.
Okay.
And at the end, you see like the hackers like screens, and they've been betting on things all night.
So
like
they've been
how
doing
many
it
times
for the
is he going to cry?
the whole time. Yeah.
The whole thing was just so they could like place bets on how these people are going to react, who was going to die first, like all these things. And so at the end, you realize this was basically just a big troll.
Well,
yeah,
man. Well,
so you called it.
Clearly, that was I'm a genius, and I should be given money to make movies.
And instead, we're going to give Pete the money to make movies. Is there anything else we want to cover about the Unfriended films? Pete, did we miss anything that you think might be pertinent for the pitches you have going forward?
Not necessarily for the pitches, but one more thing that I'll say that reflects something you said about the first movie, Dalton. I also found the second movie that the way people communicate on different platforms differs in ways that feel true to life.
Yeah.
Like using capital case in some settings and lowercase in other settings.
Yeah.
Another thing I really like, in addition to the cursor stuff, is like the cursor of text, the blinking vertical line, how that can create moments of tension in the movie as people think about whether or not they want to send a message or delete it and try again.
That was one thing I liked about the first Unfriended, was the way we were able to get inside Blair's head via what she typed and didn't send.
Exactly.
That's a really good device that isn't used so much in Dark Web.
Yeah.
I mean, you end up learning some pretty critical backstory about Laura, the girl who killed herself, because she types like, oh, well, when we were kids, backspace, her uncle did backspace. And like you learn like, oh, okay, so her uncle probably molested her, and she never actually tells anyone that, but she thinks about it, and so we get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is these movies are not related at all. The only relation is that they both use Skype and Facebook, and I have to imagine that's just via some licensing deal that Universal had. Because other than that, and there's a scene where there's a climactic scene where the other person counts down via text messages. And so that's really the only thing they have in common. The first one has an awesome Universal title, production logo.
One
gimmick.
of my favorite alternate Universal logos where it's just the regular one, and then you just get the artifacting happening, and immediately it looks rad, and it sets the tone. Always, anytime we have a Universal movie and they go the extra mile to give it some kind of customized Universal logo in the beginning, it's gonna get an extra half a star from me just for that.
Dark Web didn't have that because Dark Web doesn't have the Universal logo, only Blumhouse. It just has a little Blumhouse thing. So
and Blumhouse's logo is already kind of trippy and fucked up. So
yeah, they didn't even do the whole like weird trips through the haunted house or anything.
Yeah, it was a little early, I think, for that.
Yeah,
but maybe not.
Yeah, perhaps.
But to your point, they're not that connected, which leaves a lot of space open for us to do whatever we want to do.
That's true. And so we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to hear about what you want to do with the Unfriended Cinematic Universe, the UCU, the Uku that will make us Buku Dolores.
All right, we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to the Pod Universe, where we're talking to Pete Volk, who is about to pitch us a cinematic universe built off of Unfriended.
Now, we've never done this before, so I don't know if you gave Pete a template to follow, but I don't know if you're going to pitch us a first movie, if you're going to pitch us a slate, if you're just going to focus on... I don't know what to expect. I guess you've had full reign here to kind of set the format yourself. Much like Unfriended, you're inventing a genre here. You are innovating, and so whatever you bring to us, we're going to have to respect it as the first of its kind.
So I did come up with a few ideas, and I figured we'd use those as a jumping off point. See which all you two were interested in. Maybe,
of course,
prompt some ideas from you two as well. Mm-hmm. The first idea I had, which is the one that I'm most fond of because I had been thinking about it as an idea before this came up, and it was like, wait a second, that could make a great Unfriended tie-in. is I guess somewhat similar to Deadstream, moving this into the realm of live streaming. And in this case, I think this would be a streamer who's getting stalked by a chatter. First in game, and then it goes into in real life.
Yeah.
But it's all presented within the realm of the stream. The title, I think, Unfriended 3, Like and Subscribe, might work.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, I'm picturing something where, there's a streamer who's trying to build their community, and maybe they're, offering, opportunities for people to hang out with them in game if they, if they're one of the new subscribers today or something, and someone who's maybe a bit too obsessed takes advantage of that and thinks that the relationship is more close than it actually is, playing off the parasocial ties that we often see in these kind of relationships, and then building up into some sort of in-person confrontation.
I like that. Yeah. Now would we be sticking with the all in real time thing? Like this all happens over one continuous stream?
Yeah, I think so. I think that has to be a part of the Unfriended magic. I guess you could convince me that it's like 3 consecutive VODs in a row, but like that's so like Twitch streaming, it's not so compact that you would do it for like 20-30 minutes or whatever. So I think it would have to be from one stream that escalates over its hour and a half-ish.
Yeah, or we could go full like, Philip Glass Einstein on the beach with it and have it be like a 24-hour stream that happens in real time.
I think that's something that you do to promote the movie. Is I think that when the movie is first coming out, I think you have this streamer doing streams. You have the actor do streams on a channel that is made to promote the movie, which would allow the audience to develop a parasocial relationship with the character before the movie comes out. Sort of metatextually working with what the movie is about, right? And then
even another revenue stream.
Yeah.
There you go. And you could have the chatter, the chat person that ends up stalking the streamer
in there
like,
and
in
interacting
the chat every once in a while, like doing something creepy. Yeah.
Yes. That would be really cool, a way to really use the format, right? So it would be the kind of thing where you could only do like, a couple of streams maybe, but you right now can put together an audience for a Twitch streamer that dwarfs the audience for a primetime television show.
Yeah.
So in terms of a cost-effective way to promote your movie, I think that could be very cool. And then also those VODs become like the modern equivalent of a web series that goes on the fucking DVD as a special feature, right? I think that it would be a way to get the audience invested in the fate of this character beyond the runtime of the movie, although the movie still has to work by itself as a movie.
Yeah, Screenlife movies, I think, have a unique opportunity to become ARGs, which also reminds me, in the first Unfriended, she goes to unexplainedforums.net. Do not go there. I tried going there, and it is a sort of virus pop-up for your phone, one of those very sketchy ones that's like, tap here to clean your phone or what. Don't do it.
The thing I appreciate about that website in the movie is that everything is spelled, is misspelled. Everything is typed horribly on that website. And is the only place on the website where it reads like a lot of the real internet feels like it reads.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely illegible.
This also makes me think, and this is slightly tangential, but I think there's an opportunity here for Screenlife video games that we could tie in. Like the idea of game that looks like a normal laptop screen. Like, and they even talk about this in Dark Web, right? Like his cover for his friends is like, oh, this was just an ARG I invented, but actually doing that kind of game, it makes me think of Sam Barlow's games. I don't know if you know, he did Her Story, and what's the other one? Immortality.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a game that came out last year called Dead Letter Department as well, which doesn't as closely adhere to the Screenlife format, but the premise of the game is you have this kind of dystopic job where you read through dead letters and you have to type what they say, like the ones that aren't clear where they're supposed to be sent or whatever. Yeah. But it is a horror game. And like every day you show up to your shift at this desktop computer, and then the camera point of view shifts to you on the desktop computer. But there will be weird sounds skittering around you and like light and like all this kind of stuff that's like in your periphery or out of view. That makes it, I was very scared by that game, but I have a hard time with horror video games more than horror movies.
I think maybe some Screenlife Unfriended video games may be in the works if the movies are a success. But anyway, I like the live stream idea.
Yeah, and I really like Dylan's activation idea for some pre-movie hype.
That's right.
I think my main question that came up, Dylan, from your idea is if you have the killer in the chat, there has to be like a funny username that the killer has. Is it like I'm the killer, or is it like normal and balanced, or like something that goes the opposite way?
I think what you do is you let it be something kind of you let it be something kind of normal, and it's the same one they use in the movie, but you don't know in the ARG, in the activation, that they're going to be in the movie. So you just kind of, they pop up every once in a while, and maybe the streamer bans them. And everyone's just kind of like, oh man, there's an asshole in here. Like someone keeps coming in and being an asshole. And then you go see the movie and you're like, that's the asshole.
Yes.
That asshole.
I think that would be the way to go. I think that part of the fun would be not knowing for sure if that is a real person or not.
Yeah.
And obviously there will be people in the chat who know this is a promotional thing for a movie, and they're going to like, they're gonna break the kayfabe in there and then talk about like, I wonder if that's going to be in the movie, or ha ha ha, it's really funny, it's the killer, right?
Yeah.
But that's also something you could play with in the text of the game. You don't know whether you can take somebody seriously on the internet when they say something crazy.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of what type of streamer this would be. Like, what games are they playing? Like what is the interactive element for the person in game? And I think there are two obvious options. It can either be like a horror game streamer to just like fully lean into the aesthetics, have like a Dead by Daylight thing, something where it's like group play, but there's actually killing involved. But I also think it could be fun if it was set within like a social deduction, like Among Us or one of these kind of game settings where like really then there's the extra layer of like one of them is actually a killer and not just the killer in the game.
I think that's a great idea, because my instinct was to go with something in a Five Nights at Freddy's, because first of all, that is the most ubiquitous like horror game streaming thing and a hit movie franchise in its own right. But then the difficulty there is like, well, you don't interact with any real people in that game. And so unless we're going to go with a degree of either haunting or digital manipulation where the game changes as a result of the actions of our antagonist, I think social engineering game, like the werewolf style thing, is a great way to make that work.
Because I think that makes it a little like Scream, right? It makes it a Scream-life movie. A live Scream. There's a lot of things we can do.
All right, we're going to trademark both of those phrases.
Yep, let's trademark both of those.
We're posting this on YouTube. You've heard us say it. If you use it, we're going to sue you.
That's right. And you can go to screamlife.com right now. We are, hey, Bekmem Batov. You may have gotten the Screenlife movie, but we're doing the Screamlife movie. But yeah, like the idea of like, it could even be both, right? Like a werewolf game about masked killers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then one of them turns out to be the chatter, you know? And I think if we're doing stalking streamers, it's got to be a female celeb or a female streamer, right? Because that's who this happens to.
Screamlife.com, currently available for a tremendous amount of money we're not paying.
Fuck. What about scream.life or something like that? Screamlife.zone.
Or
you know I love
a
.zone.
Screamlife.zone, which I know you love a .zone.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be reached, so
okay, maybe that's good.
Not being used yet. I'll also try scream.life and see what we get. This is great radio. Scream.life is for sale. For a one-time fee that is not astronomical, but if you're not actually going to make any money out of it, you should not do.
Okay. Well, anyway,
don't go to those domains.
Once we greenlight this, maybe we'll make the investment. But yeah, so the idea is that this is not a supernatural one, right? This is more like dark web, where it is the actual horrors of being a streamer.
Yeah, and that maybe in this social deduction type mass killer game, as the killer in the movie, who is the killer in the game through some, I don't know, hacking, some engineering to make sure that they are that, as they kill the other players in the game, maybe they are dying in real life, leading up to the streamer being like the final victim. I'm also thinking of, have you all seen the movie Nerve with Dave Franco and Emma Roberts?
No, but I've seen the trailer to Nerve.
Yeah, that's like a similar concept. It's like an online dare game that spirals out of control. Mm-hmm. And so I think like this is kind of a connected idea to that, but within the Screenlife genre and within this kind of social deduction game.
Okay. Did you have another film you want to pitch us in this vein, or should we keep elaborating on that?
Basically, the rest of my thoughts are a variety of screens that we interact with, because I mean, that's the promise of this franchise. And, you know, whether you like it or not, there are more and more screens for us to interact with now than ever before, and there will continue to be moving forward. So I didn't have a full idea for this, but I just wrote down, what if the sphere was haunted? You know?
The haunted sphere. I like that. Yeah. But it's spelled SFEAR.
All right, let's go see if sphere.com is available. I'm not looking up any more domains. And it would air as like, you know, like how they used to do IMAX movies specifically as like 20-minute shorts for field trips to see at like the Liberty Science Center or something like that. This only plays at the Sphere.
Yes. Yeah. It's filmed. It's in 360 degrees, and sometimes the action moves to the back of the Sphere, and you got to hop in a cab and go around the block. Well, one thing I do want to ask, because I like the idea of doing it on a bunch of screens. We can have one that's all on an Apple Watch, and and you have to watch it on your Apple Watch.
Or like, I mean, even just a movie. We complain about people watching movies on their phones because they're not made to be watched on your phones. Mm-hmm. But what about a movie that is set on a person's phone, and it's a movie that is primarily in 9:16, but occasionally you have to turn your phone over because the character turns their phone over. Mm-hmm.
So you've heard of vertical shorts. What about vertical longs?
Vertical longs. And like the movie takes place on an iPhone desktop, and you are just following this entire movie moving through apps, flipping around. Like it would be dizzying, but much like people are like aware of how activity works on a desktop computer, you could do that on a phone. It would just be really weird to watch anywhere else but on your phone, and you could not sell tickets to it.
Well, here's what I want to start getting at, which is how we make this a cinematic universe. Because right now, we have an extension of the franchise. We're in Paranormal Activity
That's
mode.
it. Yeah, it was just like we have a gimmick that we are going to explore with different stories and different characters. But yeah, to make it truly a cinematic universe, we need a story spine.
Yes,
to
and
hold
we need
it together,
and we
and
need
some recurring
crossovers,
characters. Yeah.
I don't know if you have any ideas for this, but I have one I can shout out.
Please.
If we want to include the first two Unfriended, if we're not rebooting, I think we have an opportunity here where at the end of the streamer movie, the chatter that's like been stalking her gets killed and leaves his laptop behind. And she logs in and like his username, or she picks it up and looks at it, and his username is like Charon, 72 or something.
Yes.
She's like, what is this? And then suddenly the chat in her stream, all the people disappear and are replaced with different like Charons, like all commenting like the skull emoji or something. Cut to black. That's the end of our mid-credit scene.
Right.
And we set this hacker group up as sort of our anonymous big bad, right? They're our Spectre,
right. And then that also makes that we don't have to have one central villain. And that's part of what makes online stuff scary, is that you're not being harassed by one person.
Right.
You're being harassed by by often anonymous, but sometimes not anonymous movement of people.
Yeah.
And supposing you could get one of them to stop, you'll never get all of them to stop.
Yeah.
Even if their leader or whoever incited this particular incident says, okay, that's enough, folks. Some of them are having too much fun and they're not going to stop.
Yeah. So I think if we set them up as the big bad, and then maybe whenever we do our crossover movie, we have her find. Well, the thing is, everyone from the first two movies is dead. That is the tricky part here.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot cleaner to bring back Karen than the ghost of the poop girl. But there's always that.
Well, and the other thing is, we see at the end of Dark Web that what's his name? I can't think of the main character's name, but he gets hit by a truck and it's presumed that he is killed. We can reveal that, like, he recovered from his injuries. Just, a lot of time recovery. So she finds him, Matthias, I think his name was.
They share knowledge like in Final Destination.
Yeah, like they meet up and, she's like, hey, I need to find out who this, group of hackers is. And he's like, no, I won't get involved in that again,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a way, for us to get anyone from the first. We have to get someone from the first movie.
Well, we do still have the door open to mix in some supernatural elements. So any of our dead characters doesn't necessarily have to be off the board if we do want to start mixing some of that back in.
We also don't see Blair die.
I was about to say that. Yeah, it's unclear. It's also implied, but unclear.
Yeah. Well, both things are implied. It's both implied that she's going to be spared, so she has to live with this for the rest of her life. And the final jump scare implies that she's going to die.
Yeah.
Movie kind of tries to have it both ways. I think she lives, right? And so she has now maybe made it her life's work. It's been a decade, right? She is our techno exorcist, perhaps. And that means that, like a lot of paranormal investigators, sometimes she's on the trail of something that seems like it could plausibly be supernatural, but most of the time it's not. So she's ended up in the world of dealing with these hacking movements that seem like they must be ghosts, but they're not. That allows her to have a foot in both worlds.
They find her because she's like the most prolific poster on unexplainedforums.net now, right? Like,
yes.
they go on there because they're like, well, some of the things it seems like they're doing don't seem possible. And they find their way to unexplained forums. They're like, well, this person seems to know a lot about this because they're posting
everyone else
nonstop.
Has dismissed her as like crazy and that they know that there's something to it. Yeah, I do think they have to, once this is a good team up that we're building here, I think they have to come up with their own Greek mythology inspired name to kind of counter Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Now, Karen is a pretty secondary character in Greek mythology, if I'm not mistaken, and probably doesn't have a lot of direct enemies. I think he's more or less an extension of the guy he works for, who would be Hades.
Yeah.
But Hades has a pretty sordid history, a pretty long list of enemies, allies, and lovers, and people who are all three. Like, she could, if you want to go with the most obvious one, she could be like Persephone. Right? Someone who has been to the underworld.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know enough about Greek mythology, and I know a lot of our fans do, and I don't want to sound like an idiot. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay. I'm no expert. I've learned a lot. I've gained a curiosity about Greek mythology from how many times stories from Greek mythology get repurposed in DC and Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
which has led me to a lot of Wikipedia page where I learn just how much they cherry pick to make them less problematic. So
I played a lot of Hades and a little bit of Hades 2.
And have you seen Hades Town?
I have not,
That
actually.
surprises me.
Yeah. But the Pro Shot is coming to theaters, so maybe I'll take
That's when
the
I'll
shot.
find. I've listened to the soundtrack and the original concept album. I've never seen Hades Town.
But yeah, I like that they end up coming together, which brings us to what do we think we could call our like crossover film in the Unfriended verse?
Refriended?
Unfriended, refriended,
Add friend.
Mutuals.
Mutuals.
Unfriended
That's so
mutuals.
good.
would be
Mutuals is
Yeah.
good. Mutuals is
That's a winner.
Mufos. Unfriended : Mufos. That's Mufos assemble. Yeah, no, I like mutuals. That's really good.
Okay.
And
So we
then
have
in
to-
future installments, it's another person who's in trouble and they come in about halfway through to help them or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, I think we can talk a little bit about how the use of platforms would change because the platforms we use change. Facebook, if these characters are under 40, not part of the movie.
Not using Facebook.
But Discord by itself has pretty much all the tools that we would need. So you could replace almost all the ones people are using, but we probably also maybe have iMessage windows open.
Maybe Signal.
Signal would be good.
Yeah.
Like maybe at some point they move to Signal because they think it's more secure and then it's not secure enough. Then we get sued by Signal. But yeah, I think it only works if we use real tools.
Yeah.
There could be some fun. This takes it outside of some of the genre framework, but Snapchat and its disappearing messages has a fun, tool within this, but that's within the phone. So I think that's back to Dylan, your phone movie idea.
Well, we can do what some Screenlife movies have done, which is
mirror.
We can mirror screens. Yeah. We can go to more than one screen. The fact that you can mirror your iPhone to your desktop.
I was going to say Mac OS now has that built in.
Now, what would be the reason for our characters to do that? I don't know. We could always break a little bit of bend that fourth wall a little bit and have like our main desktop screen gets smaller a little bit and makes room for another screen to appear on our screen. That does break some of the sort of like the suspension of disbelief a little bit. It kind of
the phone's in the other room. That's all it is.
That's true.
I also I like the idea of if we're on a phone having a really tense moment where we're waiting for something to happen and it's really quiet and a Duolingo notification pops up and it's like Duo coming at you with like a flaming sword, like practice your French,
Yeah, that's the villain of the fifth movie. It's the
Duo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there could be a fun thing. Maybe this wouldn't make for a whole movie, but like a story told through like a gaming platform with like a chat element. Someone who's like playing chess, like Words with Friends or something, but it's like a multi-game suite kind of thing. But that would probably be for a short. I don't know.
Now, what you could also do is, this is a little bit too much of a trend of horror movies now, and so I feel like we want to wait it out until it gets like maybe interesting new developments come up. But the idea of doing one of these where it's gradually revealed that the force they're dealing with is not a person, but a chatbot or group of chatbots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'd be like Unfriended Dead Web. Because the idea of because dead internet's too clunky. Where you are trapped in a cycle of communication online with what turns out to be an army of bots operating like they're all independent agents, but because of the way that chatbots work and interact with each other, they are gradually kind of like they have each individually decided that they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
And so there isn't like, we have to shut down the main servers. Like, no, this is a whole bunch of different chatbots whose job was to like mine data for fucking Chick-fil-A or whatever.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of what these things are, they have corrupted each other into their singular focus being getting you.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool way to do one of these.
Yeah.
I could see that as being the second Mutuals movie. Mutuals : Dead Web. Essentially, it's like almost like a zombie apocalypse movie told through Screenlife, except instead of zombies, it's dead accounts, or like, fake accounts, bots. I think
that's killer. Yeah.
I think for a crossover, one thing we could do to get around the screen thing is because this is a crossover, which means at this point, people have come to know what the Screenlife thing is. I think a way that we could evolve the format without breaking the rules is we can jump between each character's device, right? Like you can have a section of it from Blair's point of view on Blair's computer, but then Matthias goes off to do his thing, and we jump to Matthias's phone because he's in motion and he's doing things on his phone while he's going. And then we go to the live streamer's live stream because she's trying to get like, you know, info from her chat people in real time.
Okay.
You know?
And what we discover is at first it seems like we are breaking the fourth wall by jumping through. But what has actually happened is that the antagonist is watching all of these screens and just basically flipping through tabs. Yeah. So the whole thing has in fact been maintaining the format.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot. I would also say that I think it's important that the section spent with each screen is pretty long. I like the idea of almost like splitting it into parts. Like part one is Blair's part. Part two is Matthias's part, etc. Because I think the more that you intercut between them, the more that it loses the impact.
And you know what the first Unfriended doesn't do, and maybe Dark Web does this, but the first one makes basically no use of screen sharing. And that is a device by which we can hand off the point of view without actually changing what monitor we're on.
It's used a lot in Dark Web.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like an obvious move to me, so I was not surprised they did it.
Yeah.
But we could be making use of that if we don't want to fully change perspective. We can have people sharing their screens. But I do like the idea of we set up the idea that we as our omniscient viewer are jumping between, but in fact the omniscient viewer is the antagonist.
Yeah.
It kind of fits with the twist at the end of the second one too, I think. Yeah. Kind of thematically. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This is going way out, but I think our big end game finale, Mutuals, Rocco's Basilisk. And the big bad is AGI, the first sentient AI that is trying to ruin all of their lives because they did not help bring it into fruition.
And then so they're Thanos. The final villain they have to slay is Rocco's Basilisk.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know, that's a few years down the line.
The conclusion is that they destroy the internet for good.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you. Your country commends you.
They end up doing Butlerian Jihad. And then it turns out the whole universe was a prequel to Dune.
Our whole universe is a prequel to Dune.
Yeah, that's
Unfriended. Yeah.
I feel like we need one more phase one movie, right? We need one more main character.
What about something within the realm of virtual reality with a side of the like Suicide Squad device where if you take it off, your head blows up?
All right, so maybe we have a situation where the device we're using this time is something like a what's the name of the Apple Vision Pro?
Yeah, it's like a Vision Pro, yeah.
It's strapped to your head, and it's strapped to the user's head, and they are not able, or they're under threat of death or whatever. They can't take it off.
Kind of like a saw trap.
Exactly. And so we are doing an Unfriended movie and a Screenlife movie from the first-person perspective of a character who is allowed to fucking move around. That is nice.
Which also, the Vision Pro, you can either set it so you can see through it and you can see what's actually in your surroundings, or it goes opaque and you're only seeing the virtual world.
This gives us options, right? I like the idea that we can be doing this hardcore Henry thing where our character is moving around doing challenges. I know you mentioned that movie. I've lost the title of it, but they're doing viral challenges.
Nerve.
You said? Yeah. We are doing something like that where a character is being held hostage, but they're able to move around and we don't have to spend the entire time behind a desk. And it still is a Screenlife movie because the only thing that we're seeing is what is on the screen, including when it goes transparent and we see the real world.
And on the Vision Pro, when it goes transparent, you're not actually seeing through it. You're seeing what the cameras see.
So it's still plausible that that's what our screen should be showing.
Well, not even that. The hackers could put something on the Vision Pro that looks like it's happening in the room with them,
with
and
their
it's
augmented
not.
reality. Yes.
Yeah.
This is something that I've been toying with for something in phase 2, so I will say nothing further.
Okay. We're gonna get this movie in phase 2. We're gonna get Vision Pro Screenlife.
There's
movie.
gonna be something. I will leave only that one little hint about something for phase 2, but I am planning to play a little bit with augmented reality.
I love the idea of an augmented reality Screenlife movie where this hacker group or someone is, maybe we even make that one supernatural just for balance, right?
Yeah, I think that would be fun. We can kind of do a mix of the two. Maybe it's essentially like this person with the Vision Pro on can see ghosts when the ghosts want them to, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just about the threat to our protagonist, it's about the threat to everyone around him or them, whatever.
Yeah.
Who that they can't see the threat, but there are limits to what our character can do about the threat. It creates a lot of suspense where it's like at any moment we, the audience, and the character will see the ghost do something terrible, but there's not actually anything that our character can do about it, at least not at first.
And I think with Dalton's idea, there's also the question of like how much of it is actually there versus like implanted into the screen.
We can leave that ambiguous, right? Either this is a they live situation and these goggles are showing something real that other people can't see, or is this person being deceived electronically to the extent that they are, for all intents and purposes, they're insane right now. They're hallucinating danger that doesn't exist and they're reacting to it. Are they in fact causing these problems? Is it like, can we leave it ambiguous for a while before we decide for sure it's a haunting or it's a virus? Or maybe can we manage to make it ambiguous the entire way through? That sounds hard to do for 90 minutes, but there's a lot of options here. And I like the idea that we can play with them.
Maybe this is like a tech test or unveiling or something like that too, where this is like a big tech company who is trying to make a device that can see ghosts or something like that, for some nefarious reason. And that this person, the protagonist, has been brought in with the promise of a lot of money to try this out. But then these things happen and they can't pull it off at first because it'll void the contract. But then later there's a threat associated with it, perhaps.
It's a horror Pokemon Go, where a user is supposed to walk around and see ghosts. And the whole point of it is just to walk around and see a haunted world of fucked up shit. And while walking around and testing it, he starts to suspect that the ghosts are real because there's stuff happening where it doesn't seem like this at first it's like, wow, this software is reacting really well to things that are happening in my environment. It's making it look like ghosts are doing things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's even a feature it's supposed to have, a thing that takes it the next level up from other AR games. But over time, it becomes harder and harder to believe that this is just software, that maybe the ghosts really are there and they are causing these things to happen.
This works really well if we actually make it like a haunted house story. Like it is all confined to one house. Like instead of it's like he's going outside and he's exploring all over, I think, so we do this, it's like an ARG haunted house kind of thing. It's an attraction that he's testing out and there's like two people running it, right? And it starts and he gets freaked out and he tries to take it off. It's strapped on somehow, like he can't get it off. And so he tries to just leave the room. And I like the idea of there being a gag where like he goes to like open the door and he goes for the doorknob and it's not really there because it's showing him the wrong feed. He's actually at the wall. And so he has to like feel around for where the doorknob is. Eventually, he goes and he finds the two people responsible and he's like, hey, I want out. I want to stop this. And they're not answering him. They're just looking at him. And then the screen flickers and we see that they're dead. They've actually been killed by whatever this ghost is, or this is just another part of the game.
Right? How could he know?
Yeah.
Right? The graphics are that good. The gameplay is that messed up. And I do, however, really want there to be a third act where we are not in isolation anymore. I want that part of the slasher movie, or like in Heart Eyes, where eventually we're just like at this carnival. Like I want that kind of horror movie ending where you're seeing just how big this problem could be, and you have to deal with the external pressure of am I crazy, and the absolute terror of how many people are in danger and how helpless he is to stop it.
Yeah, the first two acts he's trapped. It's claustrophobic. He's trying to find his way out. And then, third act, we can open up into the world at large and really blow up the scale of what was possible. And that also blows up the scale of what was possible in a Screenlife movie because now we're out in the world. Yeah.
What I also like about that idea, and it plays back to something, Dylan, that you were gesturing at earlier with the bots idea, is like, I think this thematically ties into larger concerns about AI, obviously, and what can you trust that you see? Like like a degrading trust in images that we are all having as a society, as fake images are being sent out more and more and more. And so to have that even more literalized by it being strapped to your head, I think it's got some punch to it.
And I think at the end you have like both Unfriended and Dark Web end with kind of cheap, just sort of jump scare endings. Particularly the first one.
Definitely. I'm not going to defend that.
But I think at the end, you have like the screen goes and we see the two people running it. And they were like, huh? Pretty scary, huh? And the guy's like, what the fuck? Like, was that all, like really furious that they would fuck with him that much. And they're like, hey, it's fine. And then they do actually get killed by whatever ghost he's been seeing.
Yes.
And you're left on that final thing of, oh, was that finally the real thing? Did we finally see reality? And were they actually killed by this ghost? Or is he still trapped there?
I think what might be even scarier would be we finally have the goggles off and we're just seeing the regular first-person perspective of this person with all the heads-up display has been removed. We have every reason to think we are now looking through real eyes. He sees those two guys who are like, just like you said, being like, huh, wasn't that cool? And he goes to like shake one of their hands and his hand goes through and then we just kind of glitch out for a second and then we cut for black.
Okay.
So now it's not just like, oh my God, or is that ghost real? Or is that, it's like the very nature of reality is now in doubt.
Yeah.
And in a way where it doesn't have to be like it was all like a sort of like, it was all a dream type thing or having to have like a whole third act where people are just waiting for the twist that like, see, he was in a second Matrix the whole time. It's just that last scene, the nice little jump scare that instead of being like a literal jump scare, the jump scare is the hand goes through, cut.
Yeah. I like that.
Cool.
I like that too.
I'm realizing this also gives us the opportunity to have him look in the mirror.
Yeah.
We can do some good things with him looking in the mirror and maybe his own image being distorted in some way. Or playing with like, one of the creepiest things about the Vision Pro is that if you try to do a FaceTime on it, because you're wearing these huge goggles, it makes like a weird like 3D approximation of your face.
To make it look like you're Tony Stark in the helmet or whatever?
No, it's sort of like an animation of your face. It's terrifying. It's the creepiest thing the Vision Pro does. But like if he looks in the mirror and the version of him in the mirror isn't wearing the goggles anymore.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's like, wait, do I still have it on?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I think there's some creepy stuff we could do with the mirror. But that gives us 4 movies and then a crossover, Mutuals. Maybe when they find him, he's like in a mental institution, right? Like they find him as like a victim of this group. And, like he's gone crazy from this experience, but he can still see the ghosts maybe, like even without the thing. And so
like it printed on him.
Yeah. And so they need his help or something.
Yeah. No, they all need to have their special power set or skill set to bring to the group.
Yeah. And then we end up finding, that this Charon group is like, techno wizards that are also dabbling in black magic of some kind.
Yeah, why not both, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, hey, I think we've got the makings of a billion-dollar franchise here.
I think so.
We just need, maybe 20 million to get started.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty cheap to make, right?
Honestly, that Vision Pro idea is one where it's like, fuck, if we don't make this, someone else is going to make it first. And because we are really busy and are not currently filmmakers, someone else is going to do it first.
And then we sue them.
I'm just going to be so pissed
it's
that
on the record.
Do it first.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on the record.
We're going to sue them.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe this is like, I still owe a screenplay to somebody. Maybe this is not a movie Andy Webb's going to want to make with me. I don't think. I'll pitch it to him. I don't know. I'm really keen on this idea now. It's like the third time this has happened on the show where I'm like, I should just fucking write. I have to write a script. Like every 2 months, I have to deliver a script for this show.
It's not
going to happen, folks.
I'm trying to think of the title for the Vision Pro one. Scarable tech.
It's funny, but that's not the tone of the movie. That's
what the monocle version would be.
Yeah,
that's
we need a version that we need to keep it in the tone of what these are, which I think is maybe it's Unfriended Headspace.
Headspace is good. Yeah. I like Headspace, like Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
Well, great, Pete. Do you have any other final ideas or anything you want to run by? I think this is a franchise.
No, I've been very pleased with where you two have run with the stuff. The rest of my notes are things like brain chip ? Self-driving cars ? So we've run about the gamut.
There's
and
a lot of potential. Yeah,
that's phase two. In phase two, we have a whole movie in the dashboard of a car.
Yeah,
of an electric car. Yeah,
a driverless car.
Of a driverless car. Yeah,
it's time for. It's also going to be a sequel to Locke.
Oh, that's a good one.
We're going to bring Locke into the Unfriended universe. Tom Hardy will reprise the role of Locke.
Tom Holland will reprise the role of Little Locke.
And we'll all be in a Waymo.
Waymo is the villain. All right. Pete, tell us where folks can find you across this real haunted internet of ours.
Yeah, sure thing. You can find me on Blue Sky and on Letterboxd. Pretty active on Letterboxd in particular. You can read my newsletter at pvguide.ghost.io. I'm currently doing a year-long look back at the action movies that came out in 1991 and 2026, month by month, comparing kind of trends in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
I also do a podcast with my old Polygon colleague Austin Goslin called Sports Movies That Don't Suck. It's about sports movies that don't suck.
Oh, I have been meaning to check that out because I love sports movies, but I'm not so keen on movies that suck. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's right up Dylan's
We got you
alley.
covered.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a delight. I was happy to finally dive into the Unfriended verse, even if I didn't especially love that first one.
Honestly, I might still watch Dark Web, even with everything you guys told me, because I like the form, and you guys tell me that it enhanced the form.
Watch Host. Everyone watch
I'll watch Host.
I will watch Host, and I really want to hear what Dylan has to say about Dark Web, so I'll be keeping an ear out for that.
And honestly, I'm curious to see more of these progenitors of the format. Like, I'm curious about what you call it, that you mentioned, Thomas in Love, which goes all the way back to 2000. That one's hard to find. So, maybe I had to stick you on that one. But I know that there's the Collingswood story, which came out a little bit earlier than that. There's Skydiver.
And I'm so sure that the fucking patrons are going to make us watch Mercy eventually, or the War of the Worlds from last year. These fucking animals in our Discord, they get the power to vote now and make us watch things, and they're going to do one of these abominations sooner or later.
Eventually, as long as that money keeps rolling in, I'll keep my complaints to myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. We've got some logistics business to take care of, but we'll let you go before we do that.
Yeah, you don't have to sit through the credits. Thank you so much, Pete. We'll see you around the internet. So that was Pete Volk.
That was great. I think our first cinematic universe is going to be a hit.
Yeah, so I'm excited to do more with this format going forward.
I think it's a good format for us, and it allows us to come up with a bunch of stupid ideas instead of just expanding on one stupid idea.
It's a faster pace than our previous guest pitches, which I think is fun. I'm happy about that because I think it's going to generate more shorts content that I can post around to promote the show.
And we still expanded that Vision Pro idea pretty far.
Yeah, we did. I really like it, Dalton.
It's a good one.
The problem is, we do these conversations and, I don't come out of every one of these with a movie that I would love to make, but sometimes, shit, I really like this one.
The Ghostbusters one did that to you,
too. The Ghostbusters one, and it's always, the one where I think, you could make this for so little money. You could make this so cheap.
A Vision Pro costs $3,000.
Yeah, but that's the whole budget. I mean, Vision Pro, and of course you need lighting, you need sets, you need actors, right?
Yeah.
But, every movie needs those. The big special effect is a toy I would probably just keep when we're done.
It is pretty cool to use.
I don't really care that much about the Vision Pro, but I think if I had it and I did this with it, I think that would be cool. I don't have the money right now, so.
All right, so here's where we got to talk about what's coming next.
Okay, so you heard us mention in the beginning that we were throwing out what we have for the script of War of the Worlds. That's a little bit of an exaggeration.
It's. I don't think it is. I think we do have to throw all of it out. But we're going to talk about that in a second. Here's what happened. Originally, we were going to tell you that in 2 weeks to come back here and meet us for War of the Worlds Part 1. Well, we've been wrestling with the script for a while, and then just today, we ended up having an idea that we realized was really good and a much better idea than what we had been playing with. but does kind of require us to throw away everything we've written. So
I think that the broader plot is going to be unchanged.
Broader plot. I'm talking about the words on the page.
Nature of the movie, how it's structured, where it's focused. We've been really struggling to figure out how we are going to fit everything that we need to fit in a movie, and also to make it accessible to first timers, which is really important. As a business objective for us right now for the podcast, we need this one to have a broader reach. Some of you who were with us since the pod universe jumped on board when the first Dark Legion movie episode was posted. And that was a big moment for that show to help us get off the ground. And I think that if the pod universe is going to grow to where it has to be for us to finish this damn thing, then we need that to be a priority.
Honestly, that's not even something I'm worried about. I was just worried about the legibility of this film. And I think this new idea serves both purposes.
Yes.
But yeah, I think
definitely was a problem where we have all of these characters. And even if you were a diehard of our show and you knew all these complicated backstories front to back, I think just juggling all the character objectives and making everybody feel important and have their stories be meaningful while they're all just constantly in this tug of war for who is the lead character of the movie. We have resolved that problem, and we've done it in a way that should not mean that your characters don't get cool stuff to do.
But we're going to talk about all that in a minute, because what we're going to do is, as soon as we finish recording this, we're going to turn the mics back on, and we are going to record an addendum to our planning episode where we replan. Hopefully not for an entire episode length, but flesh out this new idea we had today and then start putting it to paper. That does mean that in 2 weeks we will not be ready with War of the Worlds, and my wedding is coming up, and so it's all kind of happening at the same time. So we don't know what you're going to see on your feed in 2 weeks. We are going to try to scramble and pull together another fun guest episode. If that doesn't happen, maybe there will be a bonus pod on the feed.
Maybe we'll just do bonus. Maybe we'll put it in the main feed.
Because we really got to buckle down and write this thing, and then I got to get married. And so the schedule going forward is a little bit TBD. Keep an eye on our socials, and we'll keep you updated as we go. I am sorry that we are going to miss this deadline, but it is because I trust me, I would not give us more work if I did not think it was if it was absolutely better than what we were doing. We've written about I want to say 8,000 or 9,000 words already at this point.
And it is the kind of thing where it's some of this is this is all right.
Yeah, there's some good stuff there, but just structurally, it's not as cohesive as what we want to do.
Huge problem for ourselves. And, we applaud when we hear James Gunn say that one of the things that'll distinguish the DC universe and the Marvel universe is that they're not going to start shooting until they have finished scripts, even if that means that the movies take longer to make. Mm-hmm. We're going to practice what we would preach there, and we are not going to set another release date until we know have a realistic idea of when this is going to be done.
This is not a troubled production. Don't let the trade say that this is a troubled production. We're not doing reshoots. We're just clarifying the movie. It's going to be great. I think we're both really excited about the new direction, and so we're going to hang up this call and plot it out. But before that,
let's hear about the people who make this all possible. Thank you to our executive producers. These are patrons who subscribe at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton at the $15 a month level and get themselves a shout out on everything we record. Thank you to Brian Egan, Denim Mudslide, Diana, Jonathan Morgantini, Mar Bendlar, Mark Schmidt, Matt Thackeray, Michael Cox, Michael Mancilis, Mike Lee Whiplash, Tucker, and Weiss Belladonna. And a big thanks to our studio executives. These are our patrons at the $25 a month level, who, in addition to this shout out, also get to nominate movies for our newly revamped studio mandate section on the bonus pod. They get to decide what movies we have to do guest episode style pitches for on the bonus episode. Thank you to Bill French, Beerus, Brandon Bullock, Dracatella, Jasper Stark, Joe Valiant, Cadel, Moose, Sunmot. Yes, I know you're on here twice. As long as you keep paying for 2 accounts, I am going to thank you both times. Speep and The Wayfinder. We really appreciate your support. If you want to join us there, patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. We've got great community events happening regularly, script readings for people in the community coming up with their own original ideas or fan fictions based on our stuff.
And in 1 week, we'll have a new episode of the bonus pod that's going to have our pitch for remake of Phantom of the Paradise, which I still somehow have never seen, so I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, it's such a Dalton poll, man. I'm really excited for you to see it. I hope you like it.
I'm sure
one of us should like it, and it should be you.
I'm sure I will. I'm the one that made us watch The Abominable Dr. Phibes. So We're also going to talk about one of your favorite movies, The Apartment. And we are going to do a new studio mandate based on the poll that is live or was live as you're hearing this on our Patreon, which is either going to be Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Devil's Advocate set in the courtroom-averse, Death Becomes Her, or The Page Master. So one of those movies.
If you're watching the YouTube version, the winner is now being displayed on the screen.
Hey, isn't that cool? The magic of time.
And what was fun also is that we have 4 nominees, and all 3 of our universes are mentioned.
Yes.
There's one of this Killer Clowns is specifically supposed to be in the Pod universe using our space characters. So I assume that means characters from Last Flight of the Stone Hammer, who I'd be very excited to revisit.
Yeah.
Devil's Advocate is supposed to be a dark universe joint. No, I'm sorry.
No, courtroom-averse
joint. And
whatever that is.
And I'm still not sure what we're talking about. And the dark universe one there is
Death Becomes
Her. So you not only get to pick what movie it is, but by extension, what universe we revisit.
Yeah.
If we go in a completely new direction with the final pick and do the Page Master, which only has to include the Crypt Keeper.
So we could probably imagine which universe that's going to be in, but who knows? But that's it for us today. We are going to get hard to work plotting out War of the Worlds for a second time, but don't worry, it's going to be worth the wait. And until next time,
your screen is haunted. Whatever you're watching or listening to this on, it's haunted.
And we're ghosts now. Boo!